I do not own the rights to this music. Hello, and welcome to Sunday School Summary with Brother Ron. Sunday School lesson for Sunday, February 20th, 2022. Our reference material for the Sunday School Summary is based upon the International Sunday School Lesson Series as published by the Sunday School Publishing Board. We are discussing Justice, Law, and History as the title of the Winter Lesson Series, which is categorized into 3 units or groups of lessons. In Unit 1, we talked about God requires justice. In Unit 2, we talked about God as the source of justice. And in Unit 3, we're talking about justice and adversity. And this is a set of lessons that focus on situations in which justice seems absent, as in today's lesson. The Justice, Law, and History series focuses on justice as applied and documented in the Old Testament and defines justice as originating with God and given to the people under the law. And in these lessons, God applies justice to the lives of his people that is moderated by mercy, just as we received mercy from God. The title of our third lesson in the Unit 3 Winter Lesson series is titled Enduring False Charges. And in today's lesson, Bildad, Job's friend, misinterprets God's justice. The key verse comes from Job chapter 8, verses 1 through 2, and reads as follows. Then answered Bildad the Shuhite and said, How long wilt thou speak these things? And how long shall the words of thy mouth be like a strong wind? So he was questioning Job's faith that he had done nothing wrong. The title of today's lesson, Enduring False Charges, scripturally comes from the Old Testament book of Job. Now, Job was an honorable man of great wealth who had 10 kids, who had always done right by God, and God had a conversation with Satan in heaven, and he talked about Job's faithful ways. Satan told God that Job was only faithful because he was blessed with great wealth and splendor. Satan challenged God to allow him to destroy the great wealth and happiness in Job's life to prove that Job would sin during his troubles and curse God for his reversed fortune. However, God had faith in Job, so he allowed Satan to cause great destruction and strife in Job's life. In response to Job's condition, 3 of his friends come to offer aid and comfort, which brings us to today's lesson. The summary lesson points for today is a faulty conclusion from Job chapter 8, verses 1 through 7, a faulty traditionalism from Job chapter 8, verses 8 through 10, and a faulty verdict from Job chapter 8, verses 20 through 22. The passages for the lesson today revolves around the key words of faith, justice, pervert, and cast aside. Now, faith is a complete trust, assurance, belief, or confidence in God. In today's lesson, it's trust and assurance as the source of hope for Job. Justice is the process or result of using laws to fairly judge and punish crimes in conformity with truth, fact, and reason. Now, prophet is an individual who speaks by divine inspiration or as the interpreter through whom the will of God is expressed. Now, pervert is to turn from right to wrong, actions that distort, misinterprets, or misapplies facts or doctrines or laws. And as it is used in today's lesson, Bilad says that God's will or laws are not perverted. The first summary point is a faulty conclusion from Job chapter 8, verses 1 through 7. And in these passages, Job's friend Bildad argues a just God will punish sin and a just God will bless the obedient. So there's a cause and effect, according to Bilad's argument. So he lived in a place called Shua. So his advice to Job was that he should not continue to say these things. He said that your words are like the wind, or in other words, hot air, and that you know that God is fair, and that the Almighty does not change something that is right. He will not make it wrong. So he's questioning Job's faith. Your children did things that were wrong because of the things that they did. God punished them. So according to him, the children sin, so God is punishing them, so their due is just. But he also said that you should pray to God Almighty and you should ask him to help you. And that if Job is honest, God will listen to him, and you may have lived the right way, then he will hear you when you speak to him. And he will give back to you the things that you have lost. You will be very rich. God will give you much more than you had before. So the faulty conclusion is that the basis of Job's suffering was sin. So the conclusion would be incorrect because Job had not sinned. It was a test of Job's faith. Faulty traditionalism is our second point from Job chapter 8, verses 8 through 10. And in these passages, Bildad asks Job to recall the traditional teaching of thoughts on sin and punishment as the basis for his conclusion and insistence that Job had sinned. He went on to say people who lived before us knew many things, and that Job should try to discover what they learned, that our lives are like a shadow and they pass very quickly. They are so short that we don't have time to learn, but the people who lived before us can teach us because they have lived through these experiences, according to Bildad, that Job should listen to what they said, and then Job will learn what he should do. Sometimes we just don't understand, or we won't understand God's purpose or God's will in our lives. Yet we have to trust that all things will somehow work to his glory and to our good. So we have to keep the faith that what we're going through is a test, and in the end, it will be a reflection of the glory of God. A faulty verdict from Job chapter 8, verses 20 through 22. And here, Bildad argues that a just God will restore the repentant, said that God will not refuse to help an honest man, nor will he hurry to help a bad man. So again, it is cause and effect for sin, or suffering is the result of sin. He goes on to say that he will make you happy, and you will have reasons to laugh again, and you will smile again. And it also says that your enemies will be ashamed of what they have done, and that they will lose their own homes. So we have a situation where Job is suffering. He has no sin that he is aware of, and he questions himself as to how he may have sinned, and he comes up with nothing. So Job maintains his faith, that he does not lose faith in God, even though his friends advise him to admit that he has sinned. Sometimes our friends give us advice based on their understanding of the situation, but not their understanding of how God works in our lives. As friends, we are to provide comfort and assurance to help our friends get through whatever they are going through. It is not our point or our business to determine the rightness of their position or to judge them as the reason for their suffering. We are to provide comfort and assurance to help them get through it and to provide them with increase their faith and trust in God. So those are the summary lesson points for today, February 20th, 2022, a faulty conclusion from Job chapter 8, verses 1 through 7, faulty traditionalism from Job chapter 8, verses 8 through 10, and a faulty verdict from Job chapter 8, verses 20 through 22. This is Brother Ron with a Sunday School summary for Sunday, February 20th, 2022. Thank you for watching. Have a blessed week, and we hope to see you next Sunday for another edition of Sunday School Summary with Brother Ron.